A woman was a self-employed detective. She used her abduction to believe this next case will be easy. She used her computer with abstract control. She is full of attention arousal and achievement orientation. She uses her AWMI, associative thinking and analogical reasoning, to investigate how the bank lost all its money. Her AI enabled her to realize no one was billing them or borrowing money from them, so no one else is affected yet. This case will need a lot of AQ. She used her argumentation, application thinking, and analytical mind to tell the police that this is no accident or computer glitch. She used applied science to figure out what kind of bug it was, and AP to guess the motive behind it. She tested the bank's computer to check its financial history and time of theft by using API to judge what kind of sounds the computer is making. Her bodily kinesthetic allowed her to type 200 words per minute. It was apparent that her crystallized intelligence and cognition far exceeded the staff, as they had no idea what she was doing nor had any leads. Convergence was used for the I am not a robot test. Some sites made her take. She used contingency planning and conceptual reasoning to judge how helpful the FBI would be for this case. They were impressed with her CVCI and were convergent in their teamwork. Their conceptual thinking agreed that the criminal has much bigger plans than merely stealing from the bank. With CQ, they used foreign technology to help with the investigation. With creative quotient, she speculated that the thief might not be in the same town. Their CPI was almost as good as hers. She used conditioning to steer them into following her plans and not theirs, as they have a tendency for concrete thinking. She took advantage of their CAI. She used cold reading on them to analyze their concrete strategy. Together they are connecting the dots. It is conscientious of them to use constructive reasoning, constructive thinking, and conflicts management to improve teamwork. The doctors were skilled with clinical reasoning in treating the bank security guards who were attacked. The police used CRI and crystallized reasoning index to not fly too close to vehicles suspected of the crime. They also used CFI for their questioning of the bank's competitors. She used cognitive flexibility index and crystallized VCI to raise the FBI's morale. Along with cognitive reappraisal, when questioning security on how they were attacked, they had to rely on conjecture about their numbers and weapons. They used deduction and divergence to guess where the gang may be headed. The FBI chief had a good DQ and digital intelligence to help the team, along with a decent daring intelligence in DC. They used decompositional reasoning to make a list of rival banks and neighboring towns, keeping diverse thinking in mind. They used diverse reasoning, collective thinking, and causal thinking to agree on multiple possibilities and decisions. They suspect that the rival banks and the gang leader is using double dealing and demoralization to shut down the bank they attacked and will eventually betray their followers. The bank staff were full of effective fallacy at this news, so their dynamics needs work. So far, she has the best EFI, EQ, and emotional facilitation, too. They were impressed by her executive functioning index, emotional realization, emotional agility, emotional regulation, emotional perception, emotional engagement, emotional management, emotional comprehension, emotional efficacy, evaluation, and EQP. Almost intimidated by it. Of course, her EQA, EP, EQP, EQM, existential intelligence, formal science, and FRI are superior too. They contacted allies of the bank to warn them of extortion. She continued to use event manipulation to lead the investigation, despite the chief being in charge. Her FVC kept the team strong. The Allied banks just got all their money stolen too, so she criticized their FQ. This predicament strained the FBI's fluid reasoning. The gang's financial manipulation is more advanced than they could have guessed. They are stuck in FS. She used her fluid VCI to keep their morale up. Again, she demonstrated her higher GAI. Rival banks were gaslighting the Allied banks that they are simply incompetent and are blaming the wrong people, claiming innocence. She used G factor and hot rating to milk information out of the rival banks to trace where the money might have gone. She used info control to hide their investigation progress. The FBI is getting tired and relied on holistic thinking. She reminded them to maintain their HQ and GQ. She seduced the chief and the other agents one at a time without them knowing, in order to receive more funds and information from them, using honey trapping. The hot, steamy sessions improve her intrapersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, insights, and interpersonal facilitation. The Allied banks were falling into illogical thinking and illogical reasoning due to the criminal's skilled insanity inducement. Clearly, innovation is needed to upgrade security. The team began their days with induction. The FBI envied her interpersonal perception, interpersonal management, interpersonal understanding, IPI, introspection, inductive reasoning, intrapersonal facilitation, intrapersonal perception, intrapersonal management, and informal logic. Her kindness quotient, KQ, KI, LTS, lateral thinking, linear thinking, LTP, logical inference, LQ, long-term anticipation and logical strategy, metacognition and mental imagery impressed them too. They used knowledge-rich reasoning, logical regression, LMI, and matrix reasoning to figure out when and how each attack occurred. She maintained logical manipulation to stay one step ahead of her team. At home, she listens to foreign music to improve her LIL and MUL. At the office, they used NVI, nonlinear thinking, NVR, and organizational awareness to plan their next moves. When interrogating the rival banks, she used NVM to force more information out of them during NFS. Somehow she managed to upgrade the plans using natural science and naturalistic intelligence. And the team was fascinated. She hacked into the rival bank's website with great PSI. By only looking at the images, she pinpointed the locations of the secret operation. using PRI and probabilistic reasoning. She grinned with great PQ. She told the team the upgraded plans using practical intelligence, positive manipulation, planning versatility, psychological reasoning, and PI to inform them that they'll be working in parallels. She had more precognition than they realized. After finishing the plans with profiling, planning scope, planning coverage, pathfinding, POI, QRI, numerical thinking, retention, and RCI, they head out. They could see through the rival bank's lies with reality testing, reflective thinking, recording, reverse psychology, strategic analysis, RLS, and maintained strategic thinking and execution. They maintained relational management with the allied banks. She continued breadcrumbing sexual favors with her peers, making them give her even more information if they wanted more action. This upgraded her social communication, SQ, and social science. She continued to evolve the plans with successive processing, simultaneous processing, social awareness, social coordination, social facilitation, STS. They used insanity inducement to increase the Allied bank's morale. The team devised a new plan prioritizing strategy complexity, strategy reasoning, strategy shielding, strategy alignment, systemic reasoning, and social intelligence. They started by informing the banks how to improve their SRI. Then they used selective disclosure to provoke the rival banks and whoever is working with them. The team wore wires and maintained good STI. She emailed threats of blackmail to the rival banks and saw through their responses with good social intuition. The leader went over the plan with good systemical thinking, self-regulation, self-awareness, strategy, resilience, and spiritual intelligence. He drove the van with a good spatial intelligence. They're on their way to arrest a gang of thieves for silent disclosure, strategic deception, sophistry, scapegoating, and subjugation against the Allied banks. The leader drove with great VMI and VSI to avoid the cars shooting at the van and trying to ram it, as well as the other cars panicking. The van parked at a suspicious location, remembering to act with short, long-term anticipation, horizontal thinking, VECI, VCI, VQ, verbal reasoning, WQ, and vertical thinking. The team captured the gang and exposed the rival banks too. The rivals relied too much on triangulation to meet success. They tried to use win-win reasoning with bribery and apology to reduce their sentence. But the team imposed win-lose reasoning on them. They used TRI to read their Miranda rights, which strained their WMI. When the FBI tried to return the money to the Allied banks, it went missing again. Turns out the criminals were merely pawns to her. They were promised wealth, but received lifelong incarceration instead. She abandoned them, as she is no white knight. The FBI did another background check on her and found out she used false identification. With no information on residence or bank history, the FBI realized they have been had and didn't have any leads. She drove towards the sunset as a trillionaire and cackled. The FBI is brilliant, but her XQ is simply superior, and so is her YQ and ZQ. This is one of the many stories we have that utilizes over 300 types of intelligence. If you want to learn more, refer to the sources. 13 checked it and found unstructured team situation, unstructured solo situation, systematized team situation, systematized solo situation, local strategy, APEPPI, crystallized reasoning index, precognition, recording, reverse psychology, fluid verbal comprehension index, post planning, geometric understanding, root cause investigation, diffuse thinking, Gardner's multiple intel, improvisation, formal logic, propositional logic, predicate logic, modal logic, deontic modal, epistemic modal, temporal modal, critical thinking, critical reasoning, power thinking, dark triad, Machiavellianism, narcissistic inducement, psychotic inducement, relationship M, relationship B, ingenuity, and street smarts, along with many more terms.